Hello and welcome to the video. In this video we're going to be looking at factorizing quadratic equations. This is a topic that 8th standard CBSE students learn. It is also learnt by 9th standard students, 9th CBSE. So does ICSE student. It is also important for A levels and IB students. So this is a topic which is very common for all the syllabuses. I have seen students from 11th and 12th finding it very difficult to factorize a quadratic equation. So what I've basically done is to pick up some questions in which different types of factorization is involved. We will discuss that. We will try to do 10 questions in this video. Please try to do these questions along with me. If you're thorough with factorization of quadratic equations, just listen through this, and you can pause the video when I start a question, try to solve it by yourself, and then probably fast forward and look at the answer or look at the method in which I have done it. You can run the video at 2 speed or 1.5 speed at your convenience, and then watch the solutions. Let's quickly start off. The understanding is that the student who is viewing this video knows what a quadratic equation is. The standard form of a quadratic equation, if I can write, is ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0. Basically, a quadratic equation is an equation where the degree of the equation is a 2. The degree of the equation is a 2. That's when the equation is called as a quadratic equation. So you can notice here that the degree of all of these equations are a 2. And therefore this is a quadratic equation. I'm now going to be picking up the first question, which is x squared plus 6x plus 8. What do? I take the first term and the last term and multiply together. So when I multiply that, I'm going to get 8x squared. Please note that this is a plus 8x squared. Now I'm going to be finding out two numbers. Such that when I multiply them, these two, I need to get a 8x squared, but when I add them up, I need to get a 6x. Okay. Please note that the sign over here is plus, plus, and plus. So this is a bit easier to do. Obviously the factors are well known. It is 4x and 2x. So this can be written as x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 8. What next? Well, from the first two terms, I see that x is a common factor. So I can take out x. If I did take out x, what will I remain with? I will be remaining with the x plus 4. And from the next two terms, I see that 2 is a common factor. So I can take a 2 common out. In fact, a plus 2 common out. What will I remain with? X plus 4 again. Some people have a difficulty in understanding how to factorize. I'm going to explain that very quickly. So if I had a x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 8, I can write x squared as x into x plus 4 into x plus 2 into x plus 4 into 2, which is 8. Now I'm looking at the first two terms. I can see that x is a common term, so I take that out common, so we'll remain with the x plus 4. That's what I've done here. Again, from the next two terms, I can take a 2 common out. So if I take a 2 common out, I'll remain with the x plus 4. That's what I've done here. What happens next? I can take a x plus 4 common out from the two terms. This will be treated as one single term, and this will be treated as one single term. I take a x plus 4 common out. What will I remain with? Well, an x and a 2. If x plus 4 goes away, I'll remain with the x, and if x plus 4 goes away from here, I'll remain with the 2, and that's what I've written, x plus 2. Okay. Let's go for the next question. X squared minus 7x plus 12. All right, the process is still the same. What is the process? The process is to take the first term and the last term, multiply it. When you did multiply, what you will get is 12x square. Again, bear it in mind that what we have is a plus 12x square. Now we're going to be looking at two factors such that when we multiply them, whatever we get here, when we multiply them, we should get a 12. And we have a minus 7 here. Okay. Now this is where you need to be a bit tricky. The earlier question, all of them were pluses, so we do not have any hassle. In this case, what happens is you need to choose the signs first of the numbers that you're going to be picking up. So if this is a plus, either both of them should be a plus or both of them should be a negative. Only then the multiplication of that will be a plus 12. Because this is a negative 7, I will have to choose a negative and a negative. Only then they can be added up. If the signs are different, I will have to subtract. So the factors of 12, there are many. 3 into 4 obviously is going to be 12. I also know that 3 plus 4 is a 7. So I can write this as minus 4x and a minus 3x. So both are negative, which means they can be added up, and I get a negative 7. What if I had a minus 4x and a plus 3x? If I had a minus 4x and a plus 3x, at the first place, I will get a negative 12x squared when I multiply them. And I cannot add them here. I'll have to subtract it because the signs are different. This is a negative and this is a positive. And the result of this will be a minus x or a minus 1x. Therefore, I'm going to be choosing both of them to be negative because I can add them up and I can get a minus 7x. So what is going to happen here? I can write this as x squared minus 4x minus 3x plus 12. Now, from the first two terms, again, I'm looking at x squared and a 4x minus 4x. I can take a x common out. I'll be remain with the x minus 4. X minus 4. Now let's focus on the next two terms. Minus 3x plus 12. This can be written as minus 3 into x plus, well, I can factorize this as 4 into 3. Yeah. And in this case, I can take a 3 common out. If I did take a 3 common out, then I would remain with the minus x and a plus 4. Right? If I take this over here, I will not be able to factorize it further because nothing would be common after that. What do I mean? Let's say I wrote this as that. You see, I can't factorize this further. I'm stuck because this is x minus 4 and this is minus x plus 4. I can't take that out common. And therefore, I'm going to be taking a negative common out here. If I took a negative common out, then I would have a minus 3 and this would become x minus 4. One way you can check if you're correct is to multiply and see if you're going to get back your previous step. If I multiplied minus 3 with the x and minus 3 with the 4, minus 4, will I get this or even this? If that is true, then you're correct. Now I can see that from these two terms, which this is term 1 and this is term 2, x minus 4 is a common term. So I can take that out common and I'll remain with the x minus 3. Moving forward, x squared minus 22 x plus 120. The process again is still the same. What's the process? Multiply the first and the last term. Once you do that, you will get 120 x squared. Now you find two numbers Understand this is a plus, which means the numbers that I'm going to choose are either going to be both positives or both negatives. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to decide on the sign. Because this is negative, both the numbers has to be negative. They cannot be positive. And therefore, I now know that both my numbers are going to be negative. What next? This means the numbers that I'm going to choose, the numbers that I'm going to be choosing will sum up to 22. The numbers will sum up to 22 and they would multiply to be a 120. Basically, I'm saying that minus a minus b will be minus 22, and then I'll have minus a into minus b as plus 120. Let's randomly choose one number. Do not think too much. Do not sit and try to meditate and see, oh, okay, what is the number that I'm going to get? No, don't do that. Blankly go ahead and choose a number. Let us say, I'm going to choose 20. If I choose a 20, the number I have to choose will be a 2. Because 20 plus 2 is 22. Now I multiply them. Will I get a 120? No, I don't. It's a 40. So what do you do now? You change the numbers. Choose another number. Let's say I choose a 15. Now if I choose a 15, the number that I'm going to be choosing is a 7. Because only that is going to give me a 22. 15 plus 7 is 22. Again, I multiply this. 7 5s are 35. 7 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 105. What do you do now? You change the numbers. You see, you're coming close to the number, right? You're coming close to 120. So, which means you need to reduce this number a bit more, which is 10. And if I'm choosing a 10, obviously the other number that I'm going to be choosing is a 12. You see, this is going to give me a 120. Many students find factorization of quadratic equations difficult because of this particular aspect. They start thinking about the numbers like they have to get the numbers in the first go itself. No, you don't need to. You don't need to. Okay? Just follow the process. The process is you decide on the signs and then you see, oh, okay, the sum has to be a 22. Which means if I choose 20, I choose a 2. And then you keep checking, trial and error. And you will come to the conclusion pretty quickly. I will be giving you more tips and hints on how to find numbers. As of now, you learn this. So let's move forward. So the numbers that I found was 10x and 12x. So let's update that. This is x squared minus 10x minus 12x plus 120. Again, from the first two terms, I see that x is common, so I can write this as x minus 10. Like in the previous case, I'm going to be taking minus 12 common out. If I took a minus 12x common out, then this is going to be x minus 10. X minus 10. If I multiply minus 12 here, then I would get minus 12x plus 120. Therefore, I'm correct. Now, there are two terms here. I'm going to be taking x minus 10 common out. If I take a x minus 10 common out, what I'll remain with is x minus 12. And I have successfully factorized the quadratic equation. I'm going to the next question. X squared minus 23x plus 120. Let me just recheck that. X squared minus 23x plus 132. Okay. Same process. The process does not change. Take the first term and the last term and multiply them. Well, when I multiply, I get a 132. Again, it's a plus 132x squared. Now I need to find two numbers for this. The numbers has to be both a positive number or both a negative number. The first thing that we do is to decide on the sign. Okay, that's the steps. Some students, what they do is to forget, they forget that they have to decide on the sign, and they start jumping onto finding the numbers directly. Don't put yourself into such difficult situations. Take it easy, practice, and it'll be fine. If I take both of them to be positive, the result of the addition of these two numbers will be a positive, but I need a negative. And hence, now I decide that both the numbers are negative because they sum up to be at 23, minus 23. Okay, great. So now I know that the numbers are negative, and the sum of that will be a minus 23, and then the product of that will be a 132, a plus 132. Do not think too much. Blindly take one number. Well, I'm going to take a 20. Okay, if I choose a 20, the only other number that I can choose is a 3, because 20 plus 3 is going to be 23. So the product of this is a 60. Well, that's not helping me. Reduce the numbers. Okay, so let's go with, let's say 10. If I choose a 10, the other number has to be a 13, because 10 plus 3, 13 is going to be 23. What's the product of this? 130. 130. I'm too close, right? Let's go with 11 into 12. How about that? Yeah, 11 into 12. So let's quickly multiply that. 12 into 11, so that's going to give me 132. You see, I'm done. So the numbers are going to be 11x, minus 11x, and minus 12x. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Update the same numbers here. So you're going to get x square minus 11x minus 12x plus 132. From the first two terms, I can take x common out. So I'll remain with the x minus 11. Now from the next two terms, we already know the multiplication of 11 and 12, which was 132. So these two terms, the second and the third and the fourth term, can be written as minus 12x plus 12 into 11, and you see I'm going to take a negative 12 common out, and therefore I'm going to have x minus 12. This, which is a negative term, becomes a positive term, and this, which is a positive term, will become a negative term. Now, x minus 11, not 12. Now take a x minus 11 common out, and you will remain with x minus 12, and the factorization is complete. Next, x squared plus 4x minus 21. Now you see a change in the question. The first question that we did, all the terms were positive. You see, all the terms were positive. In the next few questions that we did, the middle term was negative, and then the last term were positive. Yeah, if that's the case, well, this is a process. Now what is happening? Now I can see that the last term is negative and the middle term is positive. Now the method changes a little bit. How? The process is still the same. You take the first term and the last term, multiply and write it. So you're going to get a minus 21x square. Minus 21x square. Now what do? Well, you take the factors of a minus 21x square. This time you decide the sign. Same thing, you decide on the sign. Well, I can't choose both of them to be positive because the multiplication of this is going to be a positive, whereas I need a negative. And therefore, I now know that one number will be positive and one number will be negative. That's the first thing you need to do. Decide on the sign. So I'm going to take a plus positive here, and then I'm going to take a negative. So when a positive number and a negative number come together in terms of addition and subtraction, the sign is taken of the bigger number. So I know now that the bigger number is positive and the smaller number is negative, and the difference between the two numbers has to be a 4. So plus a and then a minus b, that needs to result in a 4, and a plus a into minus b needs to result in a minus 21. Now that's the goal. So if I pick a number, let's say 10, I'm blindly picking up a number. If I pick a number, let's say a 10, the next number that I have to choose, will be a 6. The reason, the difference between them is a 4. You see, I need the difference to be a 4. The product of this is a 60, so it's not going to work. It's too big. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to reduce the numbers. How? I'm going to start with a 9 and let's say 5. Well, 9 and 5, the difference is a 4, but it's going to be a 45. You see, I know the numbers, which is 7 and 3, but I'm just going through the process so that you get the idea of doing it all by yourself. So if I take a 7 and a 3, I know that the difference between them is a 4, and then the product of it is a 21. So the numbers are simply 7x and 3x. Alright, wonderful. So what do I get? I'll have x square plus 7x minus 3x minus 21. Again, I can take a x common out from the first two terms. And from the next two terms, I'm going to take a minus 3 common out. What will I get? X plus 7. Now I see that x plus 7 is a common term from both of them, so I take that out common, and I'll remain with x minus 3. Okay, I'm moving forward. Question number 6. If you do not understand, pause the video or rewatch it. Try to get it from there. Okay, if in case you still have any difficulties, you can message me on the comment section. I'll try to look into that. X squared plus 12x minus 45. It's not that everybody finds mathematics to be easy. No, it is challenging. It's not an easy subject. Having said that, if you get the idea, if you get how to do it, believe me, it's the easiest to do. Well, I know that's a difficult part of mathematics, to understand how to do it. With proper guidance, I think, and interest and will from your end, you should be able to do it. Mathematics or any other subject is not, as I think about it, is not a skill issue. It's more of a will issue. Okay? You know the famous saying, if there is a will, there is a way. I'm not exaggerating it. What I'm trying to say is, if you have the zeal, if you have the interest, if you have the will to learn, you will be learning it one way or the other. Now, let's get back to work. First term and the last term, we're going to be multiplying it. What will I get? Minus 45x squared. So now I take the factors. Before I can proceed further, I need to decide on the sign. Because this is negative, I know that one term has to be negative and one term has to be positive. Only then will I get a negative once the product is taken. And this is a positive number, and therefore the bigger number is positive and the smaller number is negative. Now, what did I learn? I learned that the numbers need to have a difference of 12, which means when they subtract, the number needs to be at 12, and the product of it has to be a minus 45. Now that's what I've learned. Great. Blindly take the numbers. Do not think too much. Here I directly know the numbers, but then I'm going to go through the process with you. Okay. Let us say I chose a 20. Blindly pick it up. Don't think too much. The next number that you can choose is a 8, because only then 20 minus 8 is going to be a 12. Then I check the product of it. 8 2s are 16. So it's a 160. It's not going to work for me because it's too big. I need to reduce the numbers. I'm going to, let's say, take up a 18. If I pick up a 18, The next number that I can pick is a 6, because 18 minus 6 is going to give me a 12. You see? So I'm going to pick up a 6. So what is that going to be equal to? Well, whatever this number is, it's too huge, because 18 into, 10 into 6 itself is 60. So 18 into 6 is going to be too huge. So I'm not going to go for it. But let's quickly multiply this. 8 6 is 48. 108 is what I get. So the number is big. I'm going to go with 15. If I choose a 15, I can only choose a 3, because 15 minus 3 is going to give me a 12. Let's multiply this. 5 3 is a 15. 1 carry. 3 1 is a 3. 45. So that's the numbers that I'm going to choose. So the numbers are going to be 15x and 3x. Update the same numbers. So I'm going to have x squared plus 15x minus 3x minus 45. I take x common out from the first two terms. I'm going to remain with x plus 15. Now the next two terms, I can take a minus 3 common out. Let's write minus 3x and minus 45 here. I know that this can be written as minus 3x minus 3 into 15. That's what we did here, right? So now I can see that minus 3 is a common term from both of them. So if I take that out, I'll remain with the x plus 15. And that's what I'm going to do there. So this can be written as that. Now from these two terms, I can see that x plus 15 is a common term. I can take that out common. If I did that, I will now remain with x minus 3, and the factorization is complete. Next. A square plus 2a plus minus 3. A square plus 2a minus 3. The process is the same, be it a bigger number or a smaller number. Let's multiply the first and the last term. When I do that, I'm going to have minus 3a square. Now I need to find two numbers. Before I can do that, I need to decide on the sign. This is a negative number, and therefore I know that one of them is going to be a positive and the other one is going to be a negative. And what can I do here? Write a positive and a negative. The factors of 3 are simply 3 and 1, and the difference between them is also a 2. 3 minus 1 is a 2. So I can blindly choose those numbers. So now this is going to become a square plus 3a minus 3. From the first two terms, I can take a common out, remain with the a plus 3. From the next two terms, which is these two, I'm going to take a minus 1 common out. I'll be remain with the a plus 3. Now take a plus 3 common out. I'll remain with the a minus 1. And that's your solution. If the number that we get here is smaller, finding the factors is very, very easy. If it is big, then yes, you will have a bit of a work, but it's not very difficult. If you're following the method, you will not find it difficult. It's only when you sit and meditate and say, oh, please, numbers come to me, well, you will have a difficulty. Don't do that, just follow the process. Process is still the same, so we write minus 36y squared here. Now, this is a negative number, so one of them will be a positive and the other will be a negative. What's the goal now? Well, the numbers, they will subtract and the result will be a plus 5. Whereas when they multiply, the result needs to be a minus 36. Alright, blindly choose numbers. Do not think further. Let me just go with, let's say, a bigger number. I'll choose, let's say, 40. 40 will be too big. Let's do one thing. Let's choose a 10. If I'm choosing a 10, the other number that I will be choosing will be a 5. Because only then I'll have 10 minus 5 as 5. So the product here is a 50. So this is not going to work for me. What do we do now? Well, reduce the numbers. What if I choose a 9 and multiply it with, let's say, a minus 4? I will have to choose a minus 4 because 9 minus 4 is a 5. And this in fact directly gives me the answer, because 9 fours is minus 36. And that's the factors that I'm going to choose. So this is a 9y and then this is a 4y. If in case you're pausing the video while I'm doing it and then you're trying to find factors all by yourself, and let's say you found the factors also and you found the right factors, please check if you followed the same method. Okay, the thing about this topic is for you to follow the method, then you will be able to solve any kind of questions. Okay, if you're not following the method, try to identify where you are missing it out. All right, so this is now going to be equal to y square plus 9y minus 4y minus 36. Now from the first two terms we have a y common out. I'll remain with the y plus 9, and from the next two terms I'm going to take a minus 4 common out. I'll remain with the y plus 9. Again, how do you check if you're correct? Multiply minus 4 back and see if you're going to get this. You will, because minus 4 into y is minus 4y, and minus 4 into 9 is a minus 36. So you're correct. Now you can take a y plus 9 common out. You'll remain with the y minus 4. Great. Let's go for the next one. Question number 9. X squared minus 4x minus 21. Let's go back and look at this question again, right? You see, the question that we did till now, the middle term was negative, we learned how to do it. If the middle term was positive and the last term was negative, we learned how to do it. Yeah. And now we are looking at both the terms being negative. Okay. So I've chosen different types of questions and then try to explain it to you. Now we're looking at the ninth question, which is x squared minus 4x minus 21. But the process is still the same. What's the method? Take the first and the last term, multiply it, you're going to get a minus 21x squared. Now you're going to be looking at the factors. Well, because this is negative, we directly know that one of them has to be a positive and one of them has to be a negative. Now, this number is a minus 4 over here, which means the bigger number has to be negative. Let's quickly find out the factors of 21. Well, the factors of 21 are easy to find. It is 7 into 3 and 21 into 1, and that's it. These are the only two factors. Obviously, I'm going to go with 7 and 3 because the subtraction of that is going to be a minus 4. And I will go with plus 3x and a minus 7x because that's when I get a minus 4x. So this is now going to be equal to x squared minus 7x plus 3x minus 21. Take a x common out from the first two terms, you remain with the x minus 7. Plus 3 common out from the next two terms, again you remain with the x minus 7. Now you take a x minus 7 common out and you remain with the x plus 3. Wonderful. Let's look at the last question for today. X squared minus 11x minus 41. Yes, it was a minus 42. What is it? Yeah, 42. Okay. Let's now multiply the first and the last term. What will I get? I get a minus 42 x squared. Now you find the factors. We know that this is negative. So one of them has to be positive and one of them have to be negative. Only then I'll get a minus 42 x squared. I'll take a negative and a positive. I also know that the difference between the two numbers has to be 11. Okay, which means if I choose, let's say, a 12, the next number I will choose is a 1 because 12 into 1, 12 minus 1 is going to be 11. If I choose a 13, I will be choosing a 2 because 13 minus 2 is 11. So that's how I'm choosing the numbers. So let's go ahead. So what now? How about 15 into 4? I know that 15 into 4 is not going to give me an answer, but I'm going to try and see what I get if I do that. So 15 into 4 is going to be a 90. This is too big. I don't need that. What will I do? Let's go with, let's say, 14 into 3. 14 into 3, because 14 minus 3 is 11, so that's going to work for me. Let's see, 4 3s is 12, 3 1s are 3, and plus 1 4, 42. That works for me. So let's go with 14x and 3x. Now what will I get? I will have x squared minus 14x plus 3x minus 42. Take a x common out from the first two terms and a 3 common out from the next two terms. Now I will remain with the x plus 3 into x minus 14. And that's your factorization of quadratic equations. So what did we learn in this video? Very quickly. We learned how to factorize quadratic equations, of course, but we learned how to do it when the signs were different, like in this case plus and plus. Plus and plus is very easy to do. You get the factors, you just go ahead and do it. Most of the students get stuck with questions like these, where it's not a plus and a plus, rather a negative and a positive. That's where people get stuck. A couple of mistakes that that I have seen students doing it for past so many years that I've been teaching is they forget that they have to multiply the signs. When they multiply, they tend to write this as plus 21x squared, which means they're not going to get the factors. Even if they get the factors here, it's not going to sum up or subtract to be a minus 4. And the funny part is somehow they get some number, write something, and then just move on because they just don't want to do the question. Don't do that. It's not that difficult. I have seen students who write whatever numbers they can. Somehow they can write factors and they just close the question there. You're not going to get any marks if you do that. Right? And we as teachers, we can easily identify what you're doing, right? So don't do that. So that's one of the mistakes. They don't multiply the negative sign, and find the factors. They don't take the signs properly. Yeah, that's another mistake that they do. These are a couple of mistakes that I have identified. If you are doing any one of them, please stop it. Great. That's it for this video. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining. I hope this video has helped you in understanding factorization of quadratic equations a little bit, if not too much. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.